welcome to DDREG Knowledge Capsule. Right now, if you open up your medicine cabinet, there is just a massive statistical probability that an Indian pharmaceutical company had a hand in making what's inside.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's almost a guarantee.
Right, because for decades, they've basically been the undisputed kings of the global generic drug market.
Yeah.
But today, they are quietly trying to pull off, what has to be one of the biggest industrial pivots in modern history.
It really is. It's a fundamental transformation of this critical healthcare engine. We are basically witnessing an entire national industry attempting to just completely rewrite its core DNA.
Which is exactly why we are dedicating this deep dive to an incredibly insightful August 2026 article from DDREG Pharma. The piece is titled India's Shift from Generic Manufacturing to Innovation, what it means for global regulatory strategy. And our mission today is to decode how India is transitioning from being the pharmacy of the world, the master of high-volume, affordable generic medicines, into a true powerhouse of ground-up pharmaceutical innovation.
Right, and we're looking at what this actually means for international supply chains, for patients globally, and honestly, for the incredibly dense regulatory strategies that are required to actually put these new drugs on the market.
Yeah, because to really appreciate the scale of this pivot, we have to recognize the empire that already exists. Indian pharmaceutical companies have built this absolute fortress on traditional manufacturing strengths.
Yeah, they really have. They possess just this unmatched formulation expertise. They absolutely dominate the production of active pharmaceutical ingredients, or APIs.
Right.
And they have constructed this massive, cost-effective infrastructure. They act as this vital load-bearing pillar for global healthcare simply by sheer volume alone.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this is where the strategy seems, it seems a bit counterintuitive to me.
How so?
Well, if India has already mastered large-scale, cost-effective production, and they are essentially an indispensable, guaranteed part of global supply chains, why fix what isn't broken? Like, why risk shifting away from guaranteed massive generic volume when they essentially hold a royal flush in that specific game?
Well, the problem is that the rules of that specific game they're eroding.
Okay.
The generic market is facing severe margin compression right now. It is incredibly crowded, it's heavily fragmented, and it is just heavily commoditized.
So it's a race to the bottom.
Exactly. When you are producing standard traditional generics, you are locked in this relentless race to the bottom on price. And the DDREG Pharma article points out that the secure, long-term, high-value growth companies really have to escape that commoditization trap.
I see.
The real future opportunities, the ones that actually pay off, they lie in products that demand a significantly higher degree of scientific and clinical expertise.
So they aren't just turning off the generic manufacturing machine.
No, not at all.
They are using that massive, highly efficient manufacturing base as like a financial and logistical launchpad.
Okay.
They're moving from just flawlessly copying the recipe to actually discovering and writing new recipes.
That is a great way to put it, yeah.
And the source material maps out the scientific evolution on the ground, highlighting 3 distinct areas of innovation.
And the leap in complexity, well, it really begins with biosimilars.
Right. So moving into biosimilars represents a complete departure from traditional chemical synthesis altogether.
Wait, really?
Yeah. So instead of just combining raw chemical ingredients in a vat to create a small molecule drug, you are actually programming living mammalian cells, or microorganisms, to secrete a specific, highly complex therapeutic protein.
Oh, wow. So moving from standard generics to biosimilars, it isn't just upgrading your factory equipment. It's like going from assembling a simple, identical piece of flat pack furniture where, every screw and board is exactly the same every single time, to trying to bake a highly complex Michelin star souffle.
Yes.
And in the souffle, the ingredients are technically alive, and they're highly sensitive to literally any change in the environment. Like, you can't just chemically synthesize it. You actually have to cultivate it. What's fascinating here is how perfectly that analogy captures the regulatory reality of biologics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because those products are synthesized by living cells. They are exquisitely sensitive to minute changes in temperature or pH or even the dissolved oxygen in the bioreactor.
Just tiny fluctuations.
Exactly. If a parameter shifts by even a fraction of a degree, the protein might fold incorrectly.
Yeah, no.
And if that happens, it might lose its therapeutic efficacy, or worse, it could trigger a dangerous immune response in the patient.
That sounds terrifying.
It is, which is why regulators know this. Consequently, you can't just prove the final vial has the same molecular weight as the reference drug. You have to submit advanced structural analysis, extensive cell line characterization, deep comparability studies, and robust clinical trial evidence to prove it behaves exactly the same way in a human body.
That is a staggering leap from simply demonstrating bioequivalence for like a generic ibuprofen tablet.
Oh, absolutely. It's a completely different universe of compliance.
But the innovation isn't strictly limited to growing live cells, right? Because even when we look at traditional chemical molecules, the delivery mechanisms themselves are becoming like these microscopic feats of engineering.
Hmm.
The article outlines complex generics as a major focal point here.
Yeah, complex generics take established molecules and apply highly sophisticated delivery technologies.
Right.
So we are looking at things like liposomal formulations, where the drug is encapsulated in a lipid bilayer so it targets specific tissues,
Mhm.
or complex autoinjector pens for autoimmune diseases, or highly specialized modified release mechanisms.
Yeah, because when you're dealing with a modified release formulation,
Yeah.
the analytical methods have to be completely bulletproof.
Oh, 100%.
Like if you have a pill that's designed to release a powerful cardiovascular drug slowly over, say, 24 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and a microscopic manufacturing flaw causes the coating to dissolve immediately,
Mm-hmm.
the patient receives a massive, potentially fatal dose all at once. The engineering tolerances required to prevent that kind of dose dumping are just razor thin.
And that razor-thin tolerance, it demands a completely overhauled quality management system.
Right.
I mean, the analytical chemistry required just to prove you built the complex generic correctly, it often borders on basic research.
Yeah.
And that mechanical and analytical complexity is really just the stepping stone to the third area of focus, which is advanced therapies and novel medicines.
This is where we cross into territory that sounds a little bit like science fiction to me.
Yeah, it really does.
I mean, Indian companies are heavily investing in translational medicine, gene and cell therapies, precision medicine that's tailored to specific patient biomarkers, and entirely novel molecules discovered through AI-assisted platforms.
All right.
They are using machine learning to predict molecular binding affinities, which is compressing discovery timelines from years down to basically months.
It's incredible, and this raises a really important question regarding how these scientific leaps intersect with market access. As the underlying science of the therapies changes so drastically, the traditional rulebook for getting a drug approved, it completely shatters.
Yeah, so we are transitioning from the hard science of discovering the drugs to the intense, really high-stakes strategy of navigating this regulatory shockwave.
Exactly.
Because the traditional generic approach was a relatively known quantity. You demonstrate production capability, you run a bioequivalence study on healthy volunteers, and you submit the data. The entire regulatory focus was pretty much just on manufacturing consistency.
Right. But the innovation-driven pipeline, it operates in a totally different universe.
Mm.
When you are bringing a novel medicine or a complex biologic to a heavily regulated market like the US or Europe, the pathway is grueling.
I can imagine.
It starts at foundational scientific discovery, progresses into complex multi-phase clinical trials in patient populations to prove actual safety and efficacy from scratch. And it relies entirely on an elite CMC strategy.
And just to clarify for everyone, CMC being chemistry, manufacturing, and controls.
Correct. Thank you. And with complex biological products, there is a fundamental regulatory maxim: the process is the product.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
It means you cannot separate the therapeutic from how it was made. If you change a filter supplier or you modify the purification steps, regulators may view it as an entirely new drug.
Just from changing a filter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which means requiring you to repeat clinical trials.
Oh my gosh.
So CMC strategy is about anticipating every single variable in your manufacturing process, proving to the FDA that you have absolute control over those variables, and documenting it flawlessly in your ECTD.
Which is the Electronic Common Technical Document Submission.
Right.
Which totally explains why global regulators have set the bar at basically the absolute ceiling. I mean, if Indian pharma companies want to target these premium regulated markets, they have to demonstrate quality systems that can withstand forensic level scrutiny.
Yeah.
The DG Reg Pharma article details some of these non-negotiables. It mentions strict GMP compliance, continuous PV or pharmacovigilance risk management to monitor adverse events in the real world, and this massive emphasis on LCOA plus data integrity principles.
Yes, LCOA plus it's truly the bedrock of modern regulatory compliance.
Right.
Stands for attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, and accurate.
Okay.
Placed complete, consistent, enduring, and available.
That is a lot of adjectives.
It is, but in practice, this means if an operator in a biomanufacturing facility changes a bioreactor setting at 2:00 a.m. on a Sunday,
Yeah.
the FDA requires an unalterable, cryptographically secure digital footprint of that exact keystroke 10 years from now.
Wow, 10 years.
Yeah, you cannot just write a temperature log on a clipboard anymore. The data systems must be inherently tamper-proof.
So what does this all mean? Like, historically, compliance felt a bit like taking a final exam, right? You passed the facility inspection, you got your approval letter, you moved on.
Right.
But looking at continuous pharmacovigilance and
Yeah.
stringent LFOA plus standards, has regulatory compliance shifted from being a basic legal hurdle into an actual competitive advantage?
Oh, it has become the primary competitive advantage.
Really?
Yeah, regulatory lifecycle management is no longer a one-time event. It is a continuous development to commercial strategy. Once an innovative drug is approved, the work has honestly barely started. You have to manage post-approval manufacturing updates, geographical expansions, safety signal monitoring, and ongoing regulatory commitments.
It never ends.
It never ends. And companies possessing a seamless, highly mature regulatory infrastructure, they can adapt to these inevitable changes rapidly. They secure market access faster, and they maintain their commercial footing far more securely than a competitor who treats compliance as just an afterthought.
Well, the domestic regulatory environment in India is being forced to evolve alongside the industry to actually support this.
Mhm.
The article notes the Central Drugs Standard Control Organization, the CDSCO, is implementing some pretty sweeping reforms.
Hmm.
They're talking about moving to digital regulatory processes, establishing faster approval pathways for innovative drugs, and really aligning their oversight protocols with stringent international standards.
Which is a massive undertaking.
Well, right, and wait, let me challenge that for a second, because the CDSCO pushing for digital processes and international alignment, well, that sounds fantastic in a press release.
Yeah.
But we are talking about digitizing a massive, historically dense bureaucracy in a country of 1.4 billion people.
Right.
That doesn't happen overnight just because a policy was updated, right?
Hmm.
How do they actually ensure that global partners, and more importantly, global regulators like the EMA and the FDA, actually trust this new digital framework?
That skepticism is entirely warranted. Trust isn't generated by just installing new software, right?
Exactly.
It is generated by a demonstrable culture shift. The CDSCO is transitioning from a traditional policing mindset to more of an enabling mindset, similar to how the FDA approaches breakthrough therapies.
Okay, so more collaborative.
Yes, they are actively recruiting specialized talent who actually understand advanced biologics, and they are increasing their participation in international harmonization initiatives.
Yeah.
But you are correct, the burden of proof remains incredibly heavy. A robust, internationally respected domestic regulatory framework is the absolute prerequisite. If global stakeholders don't have absolute faith in the oversight occurring within India's borders, they will never trust the advanced therapies being exported from them.
Right, because seeing the goal line and rewriting the rule book doesn't automatically clear the path for you.
No.
There are massive structural roadblocks preventing Indian pharma from simply dominating this innovation space tomorrow. I mean, the transition requires a staggering amount of capital and specialized infrastructure.
The required R&D investment is probably the most immediate hurdle. Competing in the generic space requires capital for manufacturing scale, but competing in the innovation space requires patient capital.
Patient capital, I like that.
Yeah, developing a novel molecule or a complex gene therapy, it can take a decade of continuous cash burn before a single dollar of revenue is generated.
Right.
Indian companies must dramatically increase their R&D spend, invest in world-class clinical development services, and honestly attract elite scientific talent away from established Western hubs.
And then there is the challenge of building that advanced regulatory expertise internally, because it is one thing to hire brilliant scientists who understand the molecular mechanism of a new cancer drug. It is another entirely to have specialists who can fluently speak the nuanced, highly specific language of global regulators.
Yes.
Navigating an FDA biologics license application requires a very different skill set than filing a standard generic drug application.
Absolutely. And we also have to look at the broader ecosystem, specifically the connective tissue between industry and academia.
Oh, right.
If you examine globally dominant innovation hubs, places like Kendall Square in Boston or the Golden Triangle in the UK, they thrive because there is a porous, constant exchange of ideas and talent between major universities, agile biotech startups, and massive pharmaceutical manufacturers.
Right, they all feed off each other.
Precisely.
Ah.
India possesses incredible academic institutions, but the pipeline transferring early-stage academic research into commercial pharmaceutical development needs significant strengthening to foster a true innovation ecosystem.
Here's where it gets really interesting for the listener, especially if you are sitting in a boardroom right now looking to partner with an Indian manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
Your entire vendor qualification checklist just became completely obsolete.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like 10 years ago, the primary questions were about capacity, like how many million doses can your facility press in a month and at what cost? Right.
Exactly.
Today, evaluating an Indian pharmaceutical partner requires auditing their regulatory maturity, interrogating their quality management systems, assessing their clinical development capabilities, and looking really deeply into their proprietary innovation pipeline.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, achieving robust global market access in today's environment demands marrying scientific advancement with elite regulatory strategy from day zero.
Day zero, yeah.
For Indian companies looking to expand their footprint internationally with these new products, they cannot wait until a biologic is successfully formulated in a lab to start thinking about the FDA.
Right, it's too late by then.
Way too late. They have to integrate CMC capabilities into the initial discovery phase. They have to design their clinical trials with global submission requirements in mind. Regulatory strategy is no longer the caboose of the development train. It is the engine.
Wow. We are really watching a total industrial metamorphosis here. An entire sector is journeying from the incredible logistics of mass volume, cost-effective generic manufacturing straight into the frontier of AI drug discovery.
Yeah.
And navigating the razor-thin margins of error in complex biologics.
It is a pivot that will radically alter the workflows, the investment strategies, and the market dynamics of global healthcare.
Yeah.
The organizations that recognize this shift early, the ones that proactively adapt their regulatory and development frameworks today, they will be the architects of the pharmaceutical landscape for the next 3 decades.
They really are moving from efficiently manufacturing the world's medicine to fundamentally shaping the next generation of healthcare technology.
Yeah.
And that leaves us with a truly fascinating dynamic to ponder.
Oh, absolutely.
If India successfully completes this transition, right, if they evolve from being the pharmacy of the world to the laboratory of the world, how will this shift the geopolitical balance of healthcare?
It's a huge question.
It is. As advanced therapies, complex biologics, and AI-discovered drugs increasingly emerge from the East, will the traditional pharmaceutical strongholds in the West find themselves relying on India not just for their supply chain logistics and active ingredients, but for the fundamental patented blueprints of life-saving cures?
The implications for global health reliance, intellectual property, and international trade are truly profound.
It's going to be absolutely incredible to watch it unfold. Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the shifting tectonic plates of global pharma. Keep asking questions, keep looking beneath the surface, and we will catch you next time.